What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 13 of Film Time with Fava, brought to you by Fired Up Network. I'm ready to get into this episode, and I hope you at home are too. So this week, obviously the new Spider-Man trailer was released. It's I think the biggest trailer of all time. It already surpassed Endgame's trailer views. So needless to say, this was a big historical event in the world's history, way bigger than anything that's ever happened before. Totally. But this week I wanted to talk about the trailer and some theories about what could happen in this movie. And to help me do that, we have the first returning guest to the show, Mason Boldt, people.
Hello, thanks for having me back, Fava.
Oh, you're a crowd favorite, so we had to have you back, of course. You're like our Marvel guy out here.
Wow, that's a huge honor for me. I didn't know I was the Marvel guy.
Oh, yeah. So anyways, Mason, let's get right into this. First, I wanted to discuss some of the previous Spider-Man movies that we've seen Tom Holland in the MCU, being Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home. Just, give me some of your thoughts on the film, some negatives, some positives, whether it's about the character of Spider-Man or just the films themselves.
Well, I really liked Homecoming. I think that's probably my favorite iteration of Spider-Man. I know the Tobey Maguire, the campy Sam Raimi ones are good, and they're a part of my childhood, so there's a lot of nostalgia there. But I think in terms of the truest depiction of a Spider-Man I think Tom Holland did a really good job at that. I think that's what Homecoming kind of set up, especially a good Spider-Man for the MCU as a whole, not just as a Spider-Man entity or whatever, or character, but in the universe as a whole. I think he fits in really well. And then I liked Far From Home, how they kind of had that mentor, his trying to live up to Tony Stark's expectations for him, and he's kind of struggling with if he wants to stay as Spider-Man or if he wants to do his own thing, like his own personal life, and kind of that's conflict with that and how that resolves. I think that's going to bleed over into the next movie.
Sure. Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think this is the truest Spider-Man we've seen. I always felt like Tobey Maguire really nailed the Peter Parker character really well. Like you could tell you could believe that he was a nerd, but then the Spider-Man character, I always felt like he wasn't quite quippy enough. He wasn't cool enough all the time. So that's where I felt he fell short. But then with Andrew Garfield, I felt he really nailed that Spider-Man character. But then as Peter Parker, now whether this is his performance or the writing or the directing, but I always just felt like he was too cool. He's walking around the hallways skateboarding and all this. He seemed almost more like a hipster than a nerd, which is what Spider-Man's supposed to be. And I feel like Tom Holland really captures the nerdy side of Peter Parker as well as the quippy, cool Spider-Man kind of aesthetic.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree. And I wonder, I guess that'll come up in our next thing we're going to talk about with do you think they'll be returning? But yeah, I'd like to see how, if they do return, how they all interact, and how if Tobey Maguire kind of keeps it more campy, if Andrew Garfield kind of keeps it a little darker and more hipstery, and then they kind of how they all interact like that.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely really looking forward to this movie. There's so many questions still unanswered about it, even with that trailer that came out. But yeah, needless to say, this is one of the most anticipated Marvel movies, not just for me, but for basically any MCU fan, any Marvel fan, any movie fan, really. Just this has been a long time coming, I think.
I did not know that you said that the views for the trailer surpassed Endgame. I did not know that. I thought that's interesting.
Yeah, it's over 48 million now for the because I think Endgame had 48.3 million, and the new Spider-Man trailer has somewhere around 48.6 now.
And it's been out for 3 days, something like that.
Yeah, 3-4 days.
That really indicates how much people are looking forward to this new chapter in the MCU.
Yeah, now that we've started talking about the trailer itself, I think let's hop into the trailer. Mason, that trailer was crazy. What was your experience watching it? What was the lead up to that trailer coming out? Because that was an intense day when it eventually finally came out that night.
Well, Well, I wasn't following any like the trailer drops or anything. I kind of went on YouTube one day. I'm like, oh, look at that, the new trailer dropped. I watched it and
Mm-hmm.
I was blown away. The score was amazing. The when he's falling through with Doctor Strange through the mirror dimension, the
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man music that plays gave me shivers. And then seeing the villains at the end and like the de-aged Doc Ock, William
Mm-hmm.
Defoe's laugh behind the pumpkin grenade, all that stuff. Oh, I really like the Shang-Chi trailer, and I
Mm-hmm.
think this one topped it. It's probably one of my favorite MCU trailers that I've seen.
Yeah, yeah, no, I completely agree. Like, this is right up there with. I remember, like, the original Endgame trailer was so crazy when they revealed the title for the first time. And yeah, as you said, the Shang-Chi trailer, like that first one that came out was so cool. And honestly, Shang-Chi's been nailing it with the trailers. Like, every trailer they've released has been a banger. And but yeah, no, this trailer was absolutely nuts. Like, I was on Twitter, they kept saying like, "Oh, like it's about to premiere like 5 minutes from now," and then it was 5 minutes, and then it wasn't out yet. And I was like, "Where is this trailer?" And then eventually it finally dropped, and I watched, and I was like, I didn't think they were gonna show that many villains because we still didn't for sure know if the Green Goblin Willem Dafoe was gonna be in it, but now it's basically guaranteed at this point. Like, the laugh could not be anyone else's, I don't think,
No.
and especially since the pumpkin bomb shown is like the Sam Raimi style. But
Mhm.
yeah, no, that trailer, it started off a bit slow with them on the roof, but I was like, okay, a little lovey-dovey action, never hurt anyone. But then they got right into it. Yeah, as you said, that shot of Peter falling into like the mirror dimension kind of hole, and then while Doctor Strange is saying like, "Oh, the multiverse is a concept we know very little about." That was just such a cool line. It really just reminds us that we're entering this brand new phase of the MCU that's like going to be so crazy. Endgame is going to be hard to top, but I think this multiversal kind of arc in the MCU is going to be pretty close, if not on par with some of the crazy stuff we saw in the latter areas of phase 3 there.
Oh, for sure. And I think that's also mirrored in the most recent Eternals trailer, which I know we'll talk about at the end as well.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, some of the stuff you see there, it's huge. And like even Shang-Chi, like the apparently the 10 rings are like on par with a lot of the more powerful things in the MCU. So it feels like, yeah, it's just taking another step up in terms of the power level and the story in the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I also liked in the trailer, it seems like Doctor Strange has somewhat of like a mentor student relationship, the same way that kind of
Mm-hmm.
Tony and Peter had. So I'd like to see if that's kind of like a similar chemistry between the two.
Yeah, I know a lot of people want to see just like a Spider-Man movie where Peter's just kind of on his own, like he has to fend for himself, like just by himself. But I really like seeing these other characters that we haven't really seen him with that much. Like, we saw Peter with Doctor Strange in Infinity War, but that was very brief. I think it really brings the universe together having these kind of like very different characters. Like, one guy is the Sorcerer Supreme, one guy is a kid from Queens who shoots webs. Like,
Got bit by a
it
spider.
couldn't be, yeah, like they couldn't be more different. But they're like, it just shows that this universe, anything can happen. Um, yeah, I guess now that we've discussed a bit about the trailer, let's discuss some of the Easter eggs and maybe things that people may not have seen at first. One that I wanted to bring up, obviously, we see a lot of lightning in this trailer, a lot of electricity, but it's yellow, not blue, like Jamie Foxx used to have. He has been confirmed for this movie. But what do you think about all that lightning? What do you think about Jamie Foxx returning, Mason?
Yeah, I think apparently I never watched the second Amazing Spider-Man because
Mm,
I heard all these reviews of how bad it was. I'd never even bothered. But yeah, I've also heard from that the blue Electro is not very well received by a lot of people. So maybe they're gonna do like Jamie Foxx. It's the same thing, just it's gonna be a different spin on it. Maybe they'll bring in like the original costume, the green and yellow, and have like the yellow thing. Hopefully they can do something to change it up so that it's more well received. But
yeah, no, that original iteration of Jamie Foxx's Electro definitely was not well received. For some reason, they had a lot of dubstep playing in the background whenever he would be on screen. They had like a dubstep of the Itsy Bitsy Spider that he played while he was beating up Peter. It was really weird. Anyways, the blue Electro will not be missed. I'm really excited to see how they go about bringing him in, and whether it is that exact Electro or maybe like another universe's Electro. Even we don't,
Because that's
yeah, we
what
don't
we can
really
do
know.
now. That's what we can do. The multiverse. It's like
Yeah,
it opens
like
up so many possibilities.
yeah, I feel like people are really narrowing it down to like Tobey Maguire's universe, Andrew Garfield's universe, but it could really be universes we haven't even seen yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't
Yeah,
even know if that Doc Ock is the one from Tobey Maguire's universe, like for sure.
right. Because like Tobey Maguire's Doc Ock died, right? So it could be from
Mm-hmm.
another universe where he didn't die. And yeah, same thing with the Green Goblin. He got stabbed himself with his own flyer. But
Yeah, what an idiot.
I know, right? But yeah. Also, so Easter eggs. There's also a lot of sand that I've seen getting everywhere.
Yes.
So, do you think the Sandman's coming back from Sam Raimi's, or do you think they're gonna do a
I
different?
I do think that Sandman is coming back, and obviously with that Sandman, it's kind of like with Doc Ock. Well, okay, sort of like with Doc Ock, because Doc Ock does die at the end, but also at the end he kind of switches back to the good side because he sacrifices his own life to bring that giant energy core into the river, and that's how he dies. So he kind of switches back and gains control over his body again. But then also with the Sandman, he kind of makes amends with Spider-Man, as you know, he was the true killer of Uncle Ben, as much as people hate that that was the case. But yeah, he was good at the end. So I don't really know if he's gonna be maybe a villain in this, or if he's gonna kind of help Spider-Man, maybe, or the Spider-Men, you know?
Yes, plural. Yeah, because in the comics, Sandman becomes good for a bit before
Mm-hmm.
bad, and then he's good, and then he's bad again. I think, but
Yeah,
yeah,
Buddy
so
is switching sides all the time.
yeah, unloyal. But
Oh, facts. This sand ain't loyal. It's coarse and it gets everywhere. Yeah, so one other Easter egg, a lot of people noticed this and they couldn't tell exactly what character it was, but there's a brief scene where Peter's kind of in front of a wall and the wall crashes open and there's a large figure on the other side. And at first people thought it might be Venom, but then they quickly realized that it's probably the Lizard from
yeah,
the first Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man movie. What do you think about the Lizard most likely being in this as well?
like again, it goes back to the Electro. I hadn't seen that second movie, but I also heard that the Lizard in that movie wasn't really good because instead of having like a family or whatever, he's kind of tied to Peter Parker's dad or something.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and apparently people didn't like that. Um, but yeah, no, I don't really know much about the Lizard, so
Yeah,
you'd have
no,
to.
the Lizard, yeah, it was not very well received. Honestly, the whole kind of Amazing Spider-Man, I guess duology, is that what you'd call a two movie series? I don't even know. But the Lizard wasn't too well received. Its design was kind of weird. It was like a humanoid lizard, whereas in the comics it is a humanoid lizard, but it has more of an actual lizard head. But the one in the Andrew Garfield movies, it almost had like a human head. It almost looked like Voldemort in a sense.
Yeah, I've seen pictures. That's a good
Mm-hmm.
comparison. Yeah, so like,
Yeah.
again, like I heard all this stuff when the movie came out. Like nothing was well received. So I'm just like, I'm gonna steer clear from this movie. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, exactly.
hmm,
Honestly, the only good thing that came out of the Andrew Garfield movies is that it led to Tom Holland becoming Spider-Man. So for that, we have to thank Andrew Garfield.
thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, because originally, actually, before the Amazing Spider-Man 2 bombed as hard as it did, they were gonna, because when Marvel bought the rights to Spider-Man again, they were actually just gonna bring Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man into the MCU. So there's like a deleted post-credit scene. I don't know if it was ever surfaced, but like it's been confirmed that there was meant to be a post-credit scene in Age of Ultron where we see the Oscorp Tower from the Andrew
Hmm.
Garfield movies, and that was supposed to like set up Andrew Garfield entering the MCU, but obviously that never happened. I'm gonna say thankfully that never happened.
Yeah, probably for the best, I would say.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, the MCU would be a much different place with Andrew Garfield in it.
maybe there's another multiverse where
I mean,
Andrew.
that's true. He might still be in it. Who knows?
Oh God.
Yeah, well, I think that was probably all the Easter eggs. Yeah.
Well, what do you think about the Sinister Six? Do you think it leads into
Oh,
something like
right.
that? Because Mysterio might also be alive.
Yeah, I'm thinking there will be like a Sinister Six kind of thing in the movie. I don't know how they're gonna set up all these characters, especially for people who haven't seen all the Spider-Man movies, not just including the ones in the MCU. Like, how are they gonna make these kind of origin stories for each character? So I don't know if they're gonna do a full-on Sinister Six in this movie or whether he's gonna kind of, well, not necessarily fight the whole Sinister Six at once, or whether it's going to be kind of split up, and then maybe the final fight will be just Doc Ock and Green Goblin or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think we will see six villains. I just don't know if it'll be all at the same time.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. You have them like almost like mini boss fights along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
can see.
yeah, yeah. Now that we've talked about the Easter eggs, I think we should get into some theories of what we think could happen in this movie, just some predictions. So like, what path do you think this movie is going to take? Because we know that there's villains from movies past, but that's basically all we know. And we know that his identity is revealed, but that's about it.
Hmm. Yeah, dude, I have no clue. I have no clue where this is going. Um, like, yeah, I think it's really gonna set up a lot of the Sinister Six, like villains and stuff like that. Obviously, it's gonna set up Doctor Strange multiverse.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, but in terms of Spider-Man, I think yeah, he's gonna have to decide if he wants to like stay as Spider-Man and like help his world or like run away to another world. I think that's what it's gonna define. The main conflict is gonna be. But yeah, I have no clue where this is going. I'm just gonna show up and I'm gonna be open for anything.
Yeah, like, no matter what happens, this movie's gonna be crazy. Some theories that I have seen though. One of them, there was one Easter egg I forgot, and there's like a more devil imagery like we saw in WandaVision.
The devil in disguise thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are also saying that Doctor Strange seems to be acting a little reckless, like just doing this spell, all this
Mm.
like going against Wong's orders, which, I mean, we've seen him go against Wong's orders before, but he seems a little reckless just doing this spell that could like shatter the multiverse.
Yeah,
So a
he
lot of
seems like
people are,
he's doing it so casually. He's just like
mm-hmm.
casually, oh, I'm just gonna play with. Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of people are saying maybe this isn't Doctor Strange, maybe it's Mephisto,
Mm-hmm.
which
Well,
yeah.
so I believe it's the One More Day comic arc where Mephisto
Mm-hmm.
is plays a big part in that. So yeah, we could see Mephisto. I don't think it's gonna happen because we thought that was gonna happen in WandaVision and it didn't. And even with all the devil hints there, he didn't show up. So maybe it's kind of the same thing in this, but yeah, it is definitely interesting.
Yeah, like you said, the One More Day story, which it seems like this is taking a lot of cues from, because in that, Spider-Man does make a deal so that people don't know his identity, because it's immediately after the comic version of Civil War that it happens. Because in that, Spider-Man does reveal his identity. But yeah, so I with the Mephisto theory though, that is one way to explain why Doc Ock is like evil in this, and why maybe Sandman is evil and all that, because maybe they're being influenced by the devil.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was one thought I
Interesting.
had as to why like Doc Ock would be like, oh, I'm gonna kill Spider-Man again.
Hmm. Now,
Yeah,
do you
some
think
sort of
it's the
influence.
same Doc Ock being influenced by Mephisto, or do you think it's Mephisto bringing somebody from an evil multiverse in?
Oh, see, that's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's gonna be, I really hope it's Mephisto influencing the Doc Ock we've already seen, because I really want to see the return of the actual one that we've seen before.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like you though, I it's probably not going to be Mephisto. Like, that probably was just Doctor Strange in the trailer, to be honest.
Yeah.
What was the other? Oh yes, there's one other theory, and in the trailer and in some of the promotional photos we've seen, we see Ned wearing a Letterman, like a jock jacket, which is very unlike him. He's a pretty big nerd. And also, we've seen those pictures of the actor Jacob Batalon looking a little slim, a little bulked up, like in all the right places. So I'm thinking, he hasn't just lost all this weight for nothing. I mean, if he has, good on him. Like,
Oh,
good for you. Yeah, but he's looking jacked. Anyways, but one theory I saw online was that Peter makes that wish that, or not makes the wish, has the spell done so that people forget who he is. So then when Ned forgets who he is, it kind of leads him down this path to become like a jock. And that's why we see him wearing the jacket. But then people are also saying that Ned will then become influenced by Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, and Ned will become the Hobgoblin like his character does in the comics.
what? That's
And
wow.
yeah,
That's a
yeah,
wild little road there.
yeah. Well, like there's been theories of Ned becoming the Hobgoblin because Ned leads in the comics. That is who he does become. But like the way they portrayed him in the MCU, it just seems like he's kind of like the funny friend of Peter Parker. And I think it'd be kind of a cool change, to, like have his best friend turn on him and like become maybe his like greatest villain, and maybe set him up for a fourth Spider-Man movie as the main villain.
That actually could be pretty cool, yeah. Because you don't seem, or Ned doesn't seem like that in the first couple movies. Like, yeah, he's like a loyal friend, always looking out for Peter. So to see that flip and then become his, yeah, that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was a Hobgoblin in the comics either. So
yeah, I've saw it in a couple of videos, and like now with him wearing I don't know how they connected him wearing a Letterman jacket with that, but I guess with the Green Goblin in this movie, it seems like the proper time to have that influence kind of happen. And oh yeah, so I guess while we're talking about predictions, do you think there are going to be any deaths in this movie? Any big characters getting cut out?
I can't see it happening. Even with like what you just said about Ned, now I can't even see that happening to Ned. Yeah, I don't really see any big deaths. Maybe because I do think that the two other Spider-Man are going to be coming in. I think it's a little early for them now to be showing them because I think it releases in December, so they still got 4 months to like milk the hype train, right? But yeah, I don't think there'd be many big deaths unless they're like multiverse deaths. So like any of the other Spider-Mans, some people from like the villains maybe. But yeah, I don't think any main characters are.
Yeah. I know there's some videos I've seen where people are predicting MJ to die. I don't see that happening really. One death, I think I mentioned this in the last time you were on, was that I could see possibly Tobey Maguire, if he is in the movie, which he probably is. I could see him, the mentor Spider-Man, kind of dying in this. And I think that would almost be comparable to like the Tony Stark. Well, not necessarily the Tony Stark death, because he, kind of mentored Peter a lot more, but in the same vein of a mentor, I guess. If Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker died in this movie while fighting alongside Tom Holland, or even Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, or just any of the I guess any of the Spider-Man, that only leaves Tom Holland. But yeah, Tom Holland's not dying in this, but I could see one of the mentor Spider-Man dying. And like you said, also one of the villains, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't think they'd take the risk on killing off any from the main timeline of the MCU. Honestly, I could maybe see MJ, because now that he's got her, like maybe that gets taken away. But I think that would do the same thing as the second Spider-Man movie when she dies, because I know everybody was like kind of torn up about that in the Andrew Garfield one. So yeah.
Yeah, no, MJ. Yeah, MJ could go. That is very true. Yeah, I guess we'll really just have to watch the movie to know for sure. But
I have no clue.
So yeah, I guess with predictions. Oh yeah, so I guess just to finish that part off, in your opinion, do you think the Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are coming back for sure? Or?
I think they are. Yeah, I think it would be a missed opportunity for them not to do it if they
Hmm.
can get them and they have like a story set up to put them in. I think they're gonna do that. Um, yeah, it really brings the universe all closer together, and yeah, it just lets them do multiverse stuff. So it lets them to bring
Hmm.
villains in and the other Spider-Man, which was obviously successful when we saw Into the Spider-Verse, which is probably one of the best Spider-Man movies ever made. They did the same thing, and it was super popular. So I don't see why they wouldn't do it, honestly.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think they're most likely going to come back. And I think in the next trailer, whenever the second trailer comes out, well, I guess this one was just a teaser. So I guess the next one will be the official trailer.
That was an insane teaser trailer. Then that
Yeah, I
was
know.
like,
It was like almost 3 minutes long.
yeah, well, okay,
Yeah, no, I think in the next trailer, maybe like in the very end scene, we'll see like one of the Spider-Men swing in. Probably
Mhm.
Toby and or both, who knows? But I think the fans really want to see Toby just because it's been so long and because his series was just so like beloved by fans.
So do you think they're gonna de-age Toby? Because that's what they did for Doc Ock.
Hmm. Yeah, it all depends at well, because that's the thing. Doc Ock is like he looks like he did in those movies, basically. So if they're going for a DH Doc Ock, they might actually just bring in, yeah, like Toby as he was at that point. I kind of wanted to
Mhm.
see though, like a more aged up version of that Spider-Man so that we can kind of hear about what happened after Spider-Man 3, even though, no one really likes Spider-Man 3, but just hearing about what happened after that and seeing like maybe like a late 30s Spider-Man.
Yeah, more of a grizzled adult
Mhm.
who's seen a lot of stuff. Because like a lot of stuff happens in 3. Like he
Mhm.
loses his best friend, who was also the the new Goblin or whatever, the Hobgoblin, whatever Matthew Franco becomes, and then yeah, he gets possessed basically by an alien space rock. So it's like there's a lot
Mhm.
that happens, a lot that he's seen. So.
That sounds so crazy when you say it out loud. He loses his
Yeah,
best friend as he becomes a goblin, and then he gets possessed by a space rock.
that's all in the span of like like a week or something. So
Yeah, that was a tough week for Peter Parker there. But now that you brought up his friend becoming the goblin, now I'm kind of thinking like, what if him and Tom Holland's Peter kind of bond over that if Ned does become the goblin?
oh yeah, that could be.
Yeah,
What
what if
like
he's
they
like, yo,
bond?
my boy? He's like, yo, my boy did that too. He turned on me, but I killed his
Yeah,
daddy. So, like,
yeah. Ned was just yeah. No, yeah, that could be it for sure. Yeah.
mm, okay, well, I think that basically covers all our predictions
Oh
for
wait, one more.
the.
Okay,
Oh, one more?
did you ever watch Daredevil?
Oh, right. Daredevil. Yeah. Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you think Matt Murdock is going to represent Peter Parker in the trials?
I think he is. I think he is. And I think we might have seen him secretly in the trailer when that guy kind of slams his hands down on the table, but we don't see his face when Peter's in prison
Yeah,
getting interrogated. I think they were teasing that is in fact Matt Murdock.
yeah, he likes to slam the files down. So
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe that devil in disguise thing was a hint at Daredevil instead of Mephisto.
Okay. Yeah, that could be as well. I'm excited that they bring the Netflix MCU into the larger MCU because I love the Punisher. Like, so if you bring the Punisher into the
Mm.
MCU, I'd be very happy.
Well, yeah, so many fans like love the Netflix shows. Like, I haven't watched many. Like, I've watched a bit of Daredevil. That's it. But I know
Mhm.
so many people love the Punisher. So many people love Daredevil, and a lot of people love the guy that played Kingpin in Daredevil.
Yeah, I know he's really good. And
So a lot of
even
people want to see him.
Jessica
Mhm.
Jones is really good, and I can't remember the villain in Jessica Jones, but like he's got a pretty crazy superpower. Um,
Oh.
do you know it? He can use his pheromones or whatever. He can convince somebody to do whatever he wants. So like he's
Oh,
has a
okay.
pretty powerful superpower. So like I'd like to see how that could be incorporated in the MCU.
Oh yeah. No, I'd like to see the Netflix people come into the MCU just to kind of show that like they care about that universe because it kind of
Mhm.
felt like They kind of just tossed them all aside when they started making Disney Plus shows, which I don't know. I don't think that was really fair.
No, because they're so well, like for the most part, they are well done. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it'd be a shame to
Yeah, I
cut them.
mean, I guess we'll kind of see. I think if we do see Charlie Cox as Daredevil in this new Spider-Man movie, I think that'll kind of really open the door for seeing more of those Netflix characters. I don't think we're gonna see like Iron Fist because that wasn't very well received. So I could see them if they do bring Iron Fist in, maybe recasting him. But do you think if Daredevil is in this movie, is it going to be the same Daredevil or is it going to be the same actor playing Daredevil, just like kind of a reimagined version for the MCU?
Oh yeah, that's a good. I don't. I think they would try to bring in the same one. I would think, because if it would be the same actor, right? Is it
Mm-hmm.
Charlie Cox? Is that who it
Yeah.
is? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think they would bring. I would think they'd try to keep the same one because that one was so well received, and like that one is the one that also had relationships with John Bernthal's Punisher, which I know they're getting him back for some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he's been in the Defenders, so they could do that. So I think they would try to bring in the same one.
Yeah, no, that'd be really cool to see. Daredevil's always been like one of my sleeper, like really favorite superheroes just because like he's like a blind guy that's just nuts.
Mm.
Exact opposite of that guy from The Boys who gets his ears clapped by by Homelander.
Yeah,
Yeah, luckily Homelander isn't in the MCU, so Daredevil's safe. But yeah, no, I think he'd be a cool addition to the MCU.
I completely agree.
Okay, so I think now we have all our predictions and theories out of the way. Yeah, so
I
I
think so.
guess now that kind of concludes our Spider-Man talk. But there was also some other MCU things that came out this past week and couple weeks, and one of them was the new Eternals trailer, which is apparently the final trailer for the movie. I guess they're only doing two trailers,
Mm.
but
Yeah,
yeah. What did you think of that new trailer?
I really liked it. Um, yeah, I remember you texted me when the first one came out. You said you were kind of nervous about um, how the Eternals would be from based on the first trailer. I think the second
Mm-hmm.
trailer really redeemed it. Really got me excited for it because you see so much stuff. You see the deviants that they're going to be fighting. They talk about the uh, not colossals,
Oh, the Celestials.
celestials. Yeah, you see a celestial in there in the flesh. You see all the Eternals with their powers and stuff. Yeah, it just looks really good.
Yeah, no, I agree because yeah, I remember telling you when the first trailer came out. I think you kind of agreed that it was kind of underwhelming, and
Mm-hmm.
it seemed very boring in a sense. And I was really nervous about them bringing all those characters together at once and like whether they were going to be able to flesh out each individual one. But we saw in this new trailer, I think a lot more of the personalities of these characters. We also got it answered why they didn't intervene with like Thanos or anything. And it's because the Celestials told them, like, hey, you don't intervene with anything unless it's the deviants. And that just makes it kind of seem like, damn, this is probably like a massive threat if they were told only to intervene with them.
Yeah. Well, so I think there might be a bit of a plot hole because from the comics, Thanos is a Titan with the deviant gene. That's
Oh.
why he's kind of shunned in his society because like the Titans don't even look like him with the the nutsack chin or the purple skin. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
they look relatively normal. So that's the thing. Like if Thanos had the deviant gene, which he's supposed to, why didn't they interfere? Because they're supposed to fight deviants, right? They
Mm-hmm.
might just not do that. They might just be like he's just that's what Titans are like or something. But but yeah, no, they mentioned the emergence in the trailer, so I don't know what that could be. If it's like a celestial level threat that they're
Mm-hmm.
fighting there, yeah, it'd be.
Yeah,
But
because they
yeah,
said the emergence happens like as a result of the second snap by Tony Stark, if I remember
yeah,
correctly. Yeah.
that's what they say in the trailer. When
Mm-hmm.
everybody comes back so quickly, that's what triggers like gets attention of whoever it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and like the deviants look really cool from the trailer, especially that like kind of seems like the ringleader of the deviants, you know, the one that's holding Angelina Jolie at the end, and like
Mm,
I forget what he says to her, but that guy looks pretty sick, not gonna lie.
yeah.
Yeah, kind of almost looks like Groot. He's got a lot of appendages.
Mhm.
Obviously
Yeah,
less
in the
tree
way,
like.
yeah, yeah, more alien like lizardy like. So I think he had
Mm-hmm.
like 4 eyes or something. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
in this trailer they made it seem like they seem so powerful. Just the way, just the things that they're doing, like the guy's laser eyes, um, like the way like volcanoes are just exploding like nothing. It just seems like
Mm-hmm.
these guys are legit. So to see the threat that they're facing, it's exciting.
Yeah, now that I think of it, I think one of the reasons that first trailer was so underwhelming is because we didn't even see the villains once.
Hmm.
So it just kind of felt like there was these characters there, but where's the threat? That was what
Yeah.
I kind of noticed now, especially.
Yeah, I don't think they mentioned deviants at all or anything like that. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Kamal Nanjiani in this new trailer is so cool with his like finger pistols. Like that was dope.
yeah,
I'm so excited to see him in this. He's a funny guy. Glad he's in the MCU, to say the least.
yeah, me as well. I think so are a lot of people. So
Yeah. And then one last thing about the Eternals trailer, it finally had a funny joke that landed, unlike the first trailer, because that last joke they made, I had a good chuckle at that when he was like, "What's this table made of vibranium?" And then he smashes it, and the guy's just like, "IKEA fall collection." And I was like, "Yes." I was like, "That was funny. That is comedy."
this is comedy. Yeah, no, I'm very happy a joke landed too. I think it is gonna be funny. I think it just came off
Mm-hmm.
poorly in the first trailer, honestly. Yeah,
Yeah, because in the first trailer, it was like this character we've never seen before, and he's just like, "Oh, I could take over as leader of the Avengers," and everyone starts laughing. I'm like, "Who are you? Like, where'd you come from? Why are you saying this?"
yeah, and even earlier in the second trailer, they're like, "Oh, your sarcasm hasn't saved the world" or something. Remember that part? It seems like
Mm-hmm.
they all have good chemistry there. So, and it would seem pretty funny. So,
Yeah, no, I'm definitely more excited than I was for it. In terms of hype, though, like it's still below Shang-Chi, and it's still definitely below Spider-Man. But I am excited for it, and I mean, we're definitely gonna see it when it comes out. Obviously, it's a
oh
Marvel
yeah,
movie.
yeah, I know. If it's Marvel, I'll watch it. I don't care.
So I guess now that we talked about Eternals, another Marvel property that released something this week was the new episode of What If. Um,
Mm.
with it, I know I snapped you the other day and I said I think the episode sucked, but I thought
Mm.
about it a bit more and I don't think it sucked. It's kind of just meh for me. I don't know.
Mm. Yeah, I thought we were gonna have different opinions because I did like it. I agreed with some of the complaints that you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I just thought it was very quickly paced because they had to fit so much into it. They basically fit like four storylines into one thing. So, but yeah, no, I really liked it. I thought it was a good murder mystery. So,
Yeah, I liked aspects of it, like the all the Avengers getting killed off was definitely crazy. But then there's like some things where Thor just gets killed with a regular arrow. Like this man's the god of thunder.
mm,
Like I get it. And maybe it's because he didn't have Mjolnir and like all the powers of Thor at that point. But and then bringing in Hank Pym at the end, and then also setting up, oh yeah, Hope is now dead as well. I don't know. I thought it was kind of a stretch at the end, and then Loki just totally taking over the world. That was the part I liked. I liked Loki taking over the world because it's like what he was trying to do during the Avengers. So seeing him do it there and like standing in the United Nations, and then seeing Nick Fury being like, "Oh, my first plan didn't work, but I still got Captain America on ice, and I got Captain Marvel in the back." So I thought that part
yeah.
was cool. That's definitely what redeemed the episode for me.
Hmm. Yeah, no, exactly. Like that's what Loki's trying to do the whole time. So like that's definitely within his character at the time that he would try to do something like that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I agree. I feel like the hope was very shoehorned in at the end. Like it wasn't really mentioned at all in the beginning. It wasn't set up. They kind of just, oh, by the way, when Black Widow's on the computer, she's like, oh yeah, it's all about hope. and then you just find out she's dead. I did
Mhm.
like the Hank Pym though, him going crazy and basically becoming a hybrid of the Wasp and Ant-Man. I liked that.
Mhm. You know, I liked his costume. That was really cool. How it had like the things coming up there.
Hmm.
Almost looks like something out of Dragon Ball Z, to be honest. Actually, more Dragon Ball GT because it kind of looks like Vegeta. Well, baby Vegeta, technically.
Okay. Yeah, the
I don't
extra.
know if you know. Yeah, Dragon Ball GT is not that well known. Yeah, no, I give the episode like a 6.3.
6.3. I think that's a little low. I'd probably give it a no. I'll give it a 6.5. I think it was a really good middle ground episode.
Yeah,
I think the
I think
Black
the
Panther one, Star Lord, was probably. I'd give that one an 8, 8.1, 8.2. I'll give it an 8.2.
well, I'll give it an 8.3 because yeah, that was my favorite one so far. I think the Captain Carter one, the first one, I'd probably give like a solid, probably an even 7, maybe a 7.1. You know, one bite,
Yeah.
everyone knows the rules. Um,
Okay, with you, yeah.
yeah, so I think
7.1.
Star Lord one was definitely my favorite because I loved seeing good Thanos.
Yeah, I loved that. That was such a cool. I did not see that coming. He just walks up.
Yeah, you know that was definitely cool.
And I like that
Um,
all it took was an argument. Like he just had a strong argument to not do it, and he switched sides.
hmm Yeah, no, and that kind of just shows like the good and negotiative skills of T'Challa right there, like the future king. Well, in our universe, the future king of Wakanda, but like in that universe, future leader of the Ravagers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the one thing with that episode that I just kind of fell flat for me was at the end when they're talking to T'Challa's dad, and he's like, so why didn't you bring my son back?" And he's like, "So how did you get my son?" He's like, "Oh, I was lost, Baba, but then Yondu found me." But then his dad's like, "Oh, okay." It's like you're not gonna ask why didn't you bring my son back, or like, you know, why didn't
Yeah.
you like let me know he was okay or anything?
Yeah, and like, why didn't T'Challa like check that Wakanda wasn't destroyed? Because I feel like
Yeah,
you want to check for yourself, not just take the word for it of somebody who just kidnapped you. So,
yeah.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
like not gonna like no offense to Yondu, he doesn't look like the most trustworthy individual, you know, with his big horn and whatnot on his blue skin.
always
Hey man,
whistling.
I'm not judging his blue skin, but you know, I don't know where that guy's been. Looks like a Tide Pod. But so Shang-Chi, casual segue, comes out very soon. It comes out on September the 3rd. There's been a lot of like clips, and I think there was like one last trailer that came out. It's just how hyped are you for Shang-Chi? Uh, what do you think of the cast? Like just how excited are you for this movie? And what do you think we can expect from this?
Yeah, I'm still excited for it. I think it got overshadowed for me by both Eternals and the new Spider-Man trailer. I
Mm-hmm.
think the hype for Shang-Chi that I had is kind of overshadowed by this stuff. But I'm still super excited to see it. I have a feeling it's going to be like almost like Mortal Kombat in the MCU, and I love a good fight scene. So I'm sure there's gonna be plenty of those. I'm excited to see Wong's heavyweight debut versus
Oh
Abomination.
yeah.
As we saw in the trailer, in the Spider-Man trailer, he's packing up, he's getting ready to go. So
Yeah, I was gonna say we get to see him kind of. That'll be cool post Shang-Chi, like seeing Wong leaving and then knowing that that's where he's going. Well, that's most likely where he's going, but yeah, no, that's I can't wait to see him in that. And he's on the red carpet for Shang-Chi, so like he definitely has like an important role in the movie.
oh yeah, I didn't know that. So yeah, he definitely that'd be cool.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely excited to see Simu Liu. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right as Shang-Chi. Like I've heard he does such a good job. I heard him and Aquafina have great chemistry on screen. And I've just heard such great things about this movie. So I'm going in with high expectations and I really hope
Mm-hmm.
they're met, but I have a feeling they will be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've Marvel's been really doing well recently. So and this is a huge part of their next phase in their universe. So I'm sure they'd want to start off strong. and I'm sure they're gonna be able to do that based on the track record.
Yeah, a lot of people were skeptical about how they do after Endgame, and I think as we saw, Spider-Man Far From Home was decent. But I think a lot of the Netflix show has been good, especially Loki, in my opinion. I think that's been by far the best one.
Yeah.
I think you'd you'd agree with that. And
Yeah.
then What If's been pretty good so far, and yeah, I think it's only going to go up from here. They got a great slate of movies for this year, obviously with Shang-Chi, then Eternals like 2 months later, and then a month after that you got Spider-Man. Like Marvel is going to be rolling in money this year.
Oh yeah, they'll be swimming in pools of it.
Yeah, no, this is gonna be a nuts year for Marvel. Just the film industry is not ready for what Marvel's got planned, and I don't think we are either. There's probably gonna be like Spider-Man 4 is probably gonna be even more crazy than Spider-Man 3. Like, it's actually one last thing. Do you think now this might be a stretch? Do you think Spider-Man 3 passes Avengers Endgame in box office earnings?
In earnings, ooh, I don't know. I don't think it will, but I don't know because the trailer has more views already than so it could. Um, but I don't know. I think Endgame was such a huge moment for like not just like the Marvel cinematic universe, but like for movies in general. Paired with the fact that it was before COVID, so people were a lot less apprehensive to go pay for to watch a movie in theaters in the box
Mm-hmm.
office. So I don't know if I feel like it could get close, but I don't know if it'd be able to pass what
Yeah.
Endgame.
No, that's true with the COVID earnings because, yeah, like you said, a lot of people still haven't gone back to the movies. I've only been back once since they've reopened so far. And like I know a lot of people who don't want to go at all. But I was gonna ask one thing about that. Oh crap. Spider-Man. Spider-Man, Spider-Man, Spider-Man. Oh yeah.
Spider-Man.
So as we know, Endgame and Infinity War, those are like probably the most like craziest movies in the MCU so far.
Mm.
Do you think this Spider-Man movie is could be right up there with them in terms of like just craziness and like how much of an event the movie is?
I think so. Yeah, it's definitely a kicking off point. It seems like for the whole multiverse saga. So I think it's going to be something like um, Infinity War, where the whole huge kickoff was like Thanos coming in and beating people's ass and stuff, and then at the end snapping. So I think it's going to be something like that where it really sets stuff up. There's a huge tear in the multiverse after all this stuff, and I think it's going along concurrently with Loki, the Loki timeline where
Mm-hmm.
the Kang guy. Sorry, I don't know why I said the Kang. Yeah, Kang the Conqueror. Like all the timelines just messed up. So I think it's all kind of happening together. So I think, yeah, it can be a huge point.
Yeah, well, if there's a multiverse where Spider-Man 3 isn't a thing, like I feel bad for that universe because this thing is gonna be sick. I think we've covered everything in terms of Marvel. We've gone on and on about it. So Mason, I want to thank you for coming on this
Thanks
episode
for having
13
me.
of Film Time with Fava. Yeah, just thank you for coming on. Thanks for talking Marvel. The last episode got a lot of good response about our talk, and we had to bring you back, and I think they're gonna love this one too.
Thanks, Fava. It's always a pleasure to be on the show.
Oh, means a lot, means a lot. Coming at you every week with these guys. So I guess on that note, I haven't given my social media yet, guys. You can follow me on Twitter at a_fab24, on Instagram at Film Time with Fava. On there, I post a lot of clips and updates on the show. Those clips are pretty good. Mason's in one of them about the Thanos copter. It's probably gonna be another one in this one, but who knows? But
Yeah.
yeah, what was that?
Oh no, yeah, just the Thanos copter. I love that.
Yeah, it's definitely the greatest thing to ever grace the screen of the MCU is the Thanos copter.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, no, that big yellow thing. Anyways, guys, that's gonna just about do it. I'm Anthony Fava. That's Mason Boldt, and as always, guys, this is as real as it gets.